Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So one of my favorite things to do on my channel is to talk with you guys about champions that are currently very strong, explain to you why they're strong, how to play them, and all that good stuff. And while this video is going to be just that, we'll be talking about Blue Ezreal. This is a build that has been before quite popular, but as of recent it has once again risen to dominance. And in my truthful opinion, one of the main reasons why it's just so good now is, well, because of one item that is flat out overloaded and just offers too many stats: Iceborne Gauntlet. So throughout this video, we will further analyze this Blue Ezreal build, so hopefully you can take it into your solo queue games and come out victorious. However, before we get into that, I want to quickly tell you guys about a giveaway I'm doing with several people. We'll be giving away gaming chairs, keyboards, RP, and a lot of great stuff. It is very simple to enter. I'll have a link down below and just follow the instructions within it. And make sure to hit the like button if you want more giveaways in the future. And the question of this video is, how are your placements, how did you do, and what elo did you get placed in? Alright, so let's get right into the meat of the video. So I want to change the pace of this video by just a little bit, and first I want to start talking about the build itself, so the items. It's called Blue Ezreal for a very good reason. Look at the core items. You got Manamune, you got Lucidity Boots, and you got Iceborne Gauntlet, all which share a color of blue. Now these are the absolute core items, but you usually want to start off with Adorance, whether you're playing this in the mid lane or in the bot lane, to which you can be successful no matter where you choose to go. Ezreal's Q will be proccing the Mirror Mana damage, he'll be proccing the Iceborne Gauntlet, and even things like Blade of the Ruined King. So when you're considering the other options or the other items to choose from, I highly recommend either going Bloodthirster if the enemy team is fairly squishy or you need the extra shield from assassins, or getting Blade of the Ruined King if the enemy team is fairly tanky and are stacking quite a bit of HP. And then after you choose one of those two items, you usually want to get Mercurial Scimitar and a Last Whisper. And at the bottom you can see an example build path that I gave you guys, because the order in which you buy the first few items is actually quite important. So you start off with your Dorans and your potions, but then you want to get the Tear of the Goddess as soon as possible, because you want to start stacking it to transform it into the Mirror Mana as soon as possible. Then you want to get the Sheen so that your in-lane damage and harass with your Q is actually quite effective and does something. I personally like to finish the Manamune first, just for the extra raw AD stats that you get from the pickaxe. Then I get the Lucidity Boots for the CDR so I can spam my Qs more often, and then I finish the Iceborne Gauntlet. And as I'm sure most of you are curious or wondering where they are, here are the runes and masteries when playing this build. So for the blues, you want flat AD reds, flat armor yellows, either full magic resist blues or some magic resist blues, and then the other 4 or 5 of them are attack speed, and then 3 attack speed quints. Then you have the mastery page, and the one that I recommend is this one you see right here, 12, 18, 0. Quite self-explanatory, but the precision mastery does work quite well in Ezreal because he does have hybrid damage, both physical and magical, so you get the best of both worlds. But here's the other option for the mastery page, where you go 18, 12, 0 instead. This one is also quite good because Q will proc fervor and you can stack it up thanks to your Q as well, and it does work overall very nicely together. So just pick and choose whichever you prefer. But now that you have a decent idea of what the actual build looks like and why this is called Blue Ezreal, let's talk about why it's good and why it's bad. So this is one of my personal favorite things to play right now, whether it's mid lane or in the bot lane as an ADC, because it is very safe, it's hard to make mistakes, it carries quite hard because it has a huge power spike around 25 minutes in, and truth be told, it is just very annoying to play against. I mean, you have long range harass, you have an AoE slow, you have the Sheen damage, your Q procs many of the effects from your many items that you'll be getting because of the long range Q harass and the slow you get from the Iceborne Gauntlet, which is also AoE. It is very safe, but worst comes to worst, you have your E ability that you can use to even escape the worst of scenarios. But if an assassin maybe like Zed or Talon jumps on you, well, you're actually quite tanky. Iceborne Gauntlet gives you quite a bit of armor, in my opinion, a little too much armor, to the point where you're gonna be awfully tanky and catch a lot of people by surprise when they're just simply unable to kill you as fast as they would expect to. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video and just briefly right now, Iceborne Gauntlet is one of the main items in this build, and in my honest opinion, the item feels like it is overloaded. It just has too many good stats. for only 2700 gold, 65 armor, 500 mana, 20% CDR, and you get the sheen effect that also applies an AoE slow effect. And then imagine being able to use that item at a safe distance over and over and over without being able to really do a whole lot about it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to Blue Ezreal. However, the negatives or the bad things about playing this build is, well, the laning phase is going to be very passive. Until you get your main 3 core items, you aren't all that strong, and you do have to play somewhat reserved. Now, this can be a little difficult for some people who just love going absolute ham in the laning phase, but again, if you are playing this, chances are you will have to play very safe. And the build doesn't really have any burst. I mean, you have a lot of nice, consistent, solid damage coming out, decent AoE kind of utility control, but nothing where you're just going to be absolutely chunking someone down. Not necessarily a bad thing, but that is something to keep in mind. Next, I want to talk with you guys about some general tips and tricks whenever you're playing Blue Ezreal, and just things to really keep in mind. So as I mentioned throughout this video several times, you do have to play the laning phase very safely. So if you're able to last hit it with your auto attacks, then do so. If you have to, well, just stand in the back and last hit it with your Qs, like you see in this example with LeBlanc. She's obviously stronger than I am at the very moment, so I'm playing safe all the way in the back, farming with my Qs and just waiting for my power spike and my items. Because ultimately that is the goal with the Blue Ezreal build. You have to get the Lucidity boots, the Manamune, and the Iceborne Gauntlet as soon as you possibly can, while also getting the Manamune transformed into the Muramana as soon as possible. Which also brings me to my next tip. Whenever you have the Tear of the Goddess or the Manamune in your inventory and you're walking back from the base to the laning phase, make sure to keep using your Q as you're running back to lane as often as possible to slowly get the stacks more and more and more on the Tear of the Goddess or the Manamune. A goal you should set for yourself to getting the item fully stacked is 20 minutes. That is really good if you're able to do that. If not, maybe around 23-ish minutes is also quite good. But other than that, I highly recommend not using your W or your E ability for harass in the laning phase because it does cost you quite a bit of mana. Save your E mainly for escapes and use your W if you just need that tiny little bit of extra damage to maybe finish off the kill or when you're just going all out. Also, when sieging down towers, make sure to constantly be using your Q to hit something, whether it's champions, minions, or monsters, to keep getting your passive stacked up for the extra attack speed so you get the tower down even faster. Or you can just throw your Q into the air to get the sheen effect from your Iceborne Gauntlet, or maybe just the sheen item itself if you don't have Gauntlet just yet, and then use that auto attack for the tower to do empowered damage. Since you don't run any CDR runes, you will have 30% just from your items. With blue buff as well, that's 40%, which is absolutely perfect. When you finally do get your Muramana, make sure you toggle it on and off so you don't waste mana for absolutely no reason within maybe team fights, or when you're going in for the harass, when you're going in maybe just to push down a lane to tower, or whatever you are doing. Because when the item is turned on, it does use quite a bit of mana per auto attack, which also does count for your Q ability since your Q will proc the Muramana's bonus damage. Another tip with Ezreal in general as you're playing him is you can use your W and then you can use your E ability to jump right into your own W for the extra attack speed that it offers. It'll be somewhat difficult to find a proper use for this trick, but again, if you are taking Ezreal to the next level and you're doing advanced tactics with him, this is something if you can use well in a team fight that can make the difference. And the final thing, something that I might even mention later on in another video, is that Ezreal's ultimate has no channel time. Even though when he's casting it, it does look like he's channeling the ultimate, well, if you were to get stunned, knocked away, maybe knocked up in the air, as you started channeling or casting your ultimate, you're not gonna stop. It'll continue using it and you will still fire it off. So that's something very important to keep in mind. It is not a channel type ability. It is simply just a long cast duration. So now that we got the basic tips and tricks out of the way when playing Blue Ezreal, or maybe even just Ezreal in general, let's talk about what abilities you want to be leveling when playing this build. So almost always you want to first get your Q at level 1. Now if you're doing some kind of level 1 invade or you get caught or something like that at level 1 before the game even technically started, you might want to put a point in your E ability just to escape. But regardless, at level 2 you definitely want to put a point in your E ability, and at level 3 you put another point into your Q instead of getting your W to have all 3 abilities at level 3. Now this is where you can kind of choose how you want to do it. At level 4 you can either put that point into your your W just in case you wanted that extra base damage when you go in for the kill on your opponent. Or you can choose to wait and put another point in your E ability to lower its cooldown, but then put a point in your W at level 8 instead. Again, for the most part, you will find your W to be somewhat of a useless ability. It's just a waste of mana until later on in the game where you can buff your allies with it, or again, if you just needed that tiny bit of extra damage to kill your target. But either way, the prioritization in what abilities you should level is Q, E, W, and then R whenever you can. And no video like this is complete without the final rating that I give to each of the champions I talk about, so let's do it for Ezreal. So for this guy and this build specifically, I'll be giving it a whopping 9 out of 10 because I truly think this is a very strong build. I've been having fantastic success when playing this build and playing Ezreal, even facing high elo players like Master Tier Plus, because it really is just very safe. It's hard to make a mistake with it even though it is mainly skill shot oriented, but you get so many chances at firing your Q that even if you miss some of them, it really just doesn't matter. You're surprisingly tanky, you have a lot of CDR, you have an AoE slow that has great poke and harass, and overall, trust me, it is super annoying when facing this. So I highly recommend you guys go ahead and jump into a league game, whether it's ranked or normal. Try this out, use everything I taught you in this video and told you, and I promise you, if you play it at least somewhat correctly, you should find some success. So that is it for this video, guys. If you did enjoy it, remember to hit that like button and share with your friends. Check out the giveaway I have linked down below as well. And here were my favorite answers from yesterday's video when I asked the question, which of the 6 mage champions are you most excited about getting a rework? But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next video. Peace.